Hey, it's Chris. Got some thoughts for you on the WWDC announcements. I did have an invite. I wasn't able to actually make it in person this year, but I do want to share what I thought was cool. Before we get into it, let me just let you know I'm celebrating WWDC with a 50% discount off of all the courses. I know we had that going for the new iPads. I'm going to keep it going for WWDC because it is that exciting if you're an Apple fan. I think it's kind of interesting that Apple decided to talk about visionOS first. They saved intelligence for last. And you can see sort of the order of things that we're going through that seems to tell you the importance almost. Does that mean that visionOS is the least important, or does it mean that they want to promote it the most at the beginning? Because they always save the best stuff for the end, right? Anything that can enhance my productivity, I'm very interested in. I've always wanted Apple to make an actual curved monitor that I can put on my desk. I like curved monitors. I like ultra wides, but an Apple one would just be amazing. I would drool over that. This is not that, but it's a virtual version. And that's still not nothing. So to be able to display your Mac screen on this virtual curved monitor, sort of in your desk space there, that's kind of interesting. I'm intrigued by this. Oh, the ability to move your apps wherever and not just have them stuck on a grid, that's actually pretty cool. The Android people are going to be laughing because they're like, this has been available forever. And now Apple's touting this as some amazing feature. But I got to say, now that it's here, if you're an Apple user and not an Android user, then yeah, that's nice. I think the option to really reskin all of your different app icons just to turn them all one color, that's pretty cool. People like to customize things, personalize things, and we're getting a more and more personalized experience with iOS here. I like that. Being able to swipe for different sorts of controls with a Control Center, just like swipe up and down like you would within an app, that's really nice. I'm liking that. iOS is getting a little out of control with all the things because these are like nooks and crannies that people are going to forget exist. But on the other hand, wow, a lot more powerful and really cool. And also the control gallery. It's kind of nerdy, right? Where you can go into the settings and basically this is like a different form of settings, right? And rearrange how it looks and everything. Super nerdy, but also, it's cool. It's another customization. Oh boy, being able to swap out the default lock screen buttons there. You don't have to have just the flashlight, for instance. That's going to be nice. A lot of people are really going to appreciate that. Actually, already, there's several useful things that are coming to iOS 18 here. We're barely into it, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. It's kind of funny that Apple describes this as a huge year for tapbacks. It's tapbacks. But it's interesting that you can swipe through and use any emoji as a tapback. That's nice. It's time saving. And also, it personalizes things a little bit more. I was a lot more intrigued by the text formatting options within Messages. So to be able to bold or italicize text, almost like an article or something, that's actually pretty cool. For some of the text effects, though, like the ripple effect, and there's like a little effects gallery that you can check out now. How much of this is really useful and how much of it is bloat? There's like a fine line between this is a fun feature. I can imagine Apple being like, how do we make this more fun? And just kind of like too much over the top. At some point it's utilitarian and some point it's fun. And this isn't a video game. It's just sending a text message. So as far as the email updates go, they're so, but they're really not here nor there for me because I'm this close to switching to hey.com for my email. This isn't sponsored or anything. That's something I've been wanting to do for a long time for other reasons. It's almost like whatever features Apple would bring to the mail, they're not going to wow me personally, but if you use the Mail app, these are some nice updates. I think that the redesign of the Photos app for iOS is actually pretty cool. Specifically, I like that filter button, which lets you just do a couple of taps to filter out things like screenshots and just kind of get to what you're after a little bit quicker. That's actually going to be useful. That's one of the little things that's going to make your quality of life with the iPhone just that much better. Also, I think the pinned collections within the Photos app is kind of cool. So you can get to your favorites really easily or anything that you've organized or accessed frequently. Like one thing that people really missed out on, I think, that slipped through the cracks was the ability to have larger icons on your iOS screen. That's kind of cool too. Like the personalization here is really stepping up. Real quick, let me mention today's sponsor, ESR. ESR is the top selling brand of MagSafe accessories on Amazon. They've got some great Qi 2 chargers. I've been checking out this new ESR Qi 2 3-in-1 travel wireless charging set. Not only does it have 2 times faster charging for your iPhone, but 4 times faster charging for your Apple Watch. But I love that it's foldable and portable. And they're capable of charging iPhones at 15 watts. This thing is the traveler's dream. So you can check out ESR and all the great products linked up down below. In terms of the AirPods updates, what other company sits there and comes out with software updates for their earbuds and then actually concentrates on and cares about making sure about these upgrades and updates? Wow, being able to do gestures with your head to answer stuff without even having to say anything or touch your AirPods. Just being able to nod, answer. But then the voice isolation too. That's really good. I mean, the thing that reviewers almost never test and that I get the most comments like, well, what about the call quality? What about the call quality? To have this voice isolation come to the AirPods Pro here, that's a big deal. Like, it matters when you're on the phone. You want it to sound as good as possible. So I'm glad to see this upgrade. Better screensavers on Apple TV. That is actually kind of cool. Like, to be able to have the time with your best photos or something. Yeah, that I actually do like. A lot of the watchOS announcements are super focused on fitness and stuff. And that's not my main use of the Apple Watch. Like, usually just use it for the time and notifications and reminders. Most of all, reminders. See my appointments, the date, stuff like that, like basic stuff. And I have the Ultra because I just don't want it to get messed up, when I knock it into stuff like I've had previous Apple Watches. So a lot of the watchOS stuff, I get it because there is a crowd who loves that stuff. What I'm saying is it's really anything productivity focused, like everyday focused, rather than the fitness focus, that really gets me excited about watchOS. I actually think the new way that you can display some of the best photos that you have on your Apple Watch and have it automatically frame it up with some nice looking fonts and customize that, that's actually nice. iPadOS, these are the updates that I'm most interested in. Really like the new ways to personalize the home screen that came from iOS to iPadOS. It's going to give a whole new aesthetic. That's cool. Whoa, floating tab bar is kind of like Dynamic Island, but for the iPad. I think that's how they adapted it, and that's really cool. The ability to customize that depending on the app that you're in, have it turn into the sidebar if you need to see more information, then have it go back. Wow, I think that's going to be a game changer. Oh, wow. Being able to remotely control somebody else's iPad or iPhone. That's interesting using SharePlay. Now, this is a double-edged sword because the parents are going to be like, hey, I don't know how to do something. Can you take over my screen? Do it for me. But in all seriousness, I mean, it's pretty cool to be able to do that. I'm surprised that they actually brought the calculator to iPad. I mean, they made a big deal out of it. They had some fun with it. We're actually bringing it. It was an impossibility, but here it is. Now, a calculator is a calculator. But what I do like that they did here was that they brought an Apple Pencil experience to it, because that's what the iPad is, right? It's only so many things that make it different from a Mac. One of them is the Apple Pencil. So to just be able to write an equal sign and have stuff calculated for you, now that's the iPad-centric experience that makes this worth bringing to the iPad, I guess. So good job there. I more Apple Pencil stuff infused into different sorts of apps and experiences, and done so by Apple, not necessarily developers. It's going to be good if Apple actually does it. That's actually really cool. Okay, this Smart Script feature is one I'm going to have to check out. Like, it refines your handwriting to make it look better. So how much of that is you and how much of it is not you? That's what makes it kind of weird for me. But I get like wanting it to look better, be more legible. That's obviously a big bonus. I think there's potential here for me to really like this, but I got to get my hands on it and check it out. So that's something you're going to want to subscribe for. Oh man, being able to tap and hold and rearrange your handwriting. This is cool. This is actually really exciting stuff. I feel like I've had some excitement from this WWDC announcement that I haven't gotten from a few previous years. Some stuff that was generally like, oh wow, sort of stuff. Rearranging your handwriting, I don't know. That was one of those things for me. Let's not forget about collapsible sections in notes. Minimize some stuff. It's like compressing it and then unzipping it, sort of, in a way. I think that's really going to be beneficial. Seeing that a lot of the things that came to iOS and iPadOS are also in macOS, it just shows you how much of a convergence there really is. I'm always really excited to hear more about continuity, because this is the Apple ecosystem working together, all the different devices and apps, being something bigger than each of them individually. I feel like the iPhone mirroring functionality is going to be interesting. It's one of those things, like, I'm not 100% sure exactly how I would use it, but I think that there's going to be some productivity uses here for sure. This really adds to my desk setup, I feel like. It's kind of like universal control, where I can control my iPad with just my Mac gear, but now I can also control my iPhone. This opens up some possibilities. Actually, when I saw that this works with standby mode, I immediately understood that this lets me use both devices with one device. I don't have enough hands to use both devices, but to be able to use them both, even if it's virtually, no, I think this is actually pretty intriguing. Drag and drop between the devices, that's insane. Wow, the Apple ecosystem gets better and better all the time in terms of these sorts of capabilities. That's impressive. Not going to complain about better Windows management and keyboard shortcuts. I know that there's some app developers that are going to complain because this usurps their functionality. But yeah, I think I'll like that baked in. Oh, finally, they got a passwords app. Okay, now I can switch from one password. I've been waiting for specifically this, a standalone app, so I don't have to dig around forever for this. This is a big deal, actually. I really like this. The highlights feature in Safari is actually kind of cool. It might be kind of useful. But the problem is with Safari, you always get these somewhat interesting features, but then it's missing all these other things like plugins. I can get all my Chrome plugins that I need and rely on in Chrome OS or, Chrome browsers, but I can't get it in Safari. And so these things, they're cool, but they don't pull me away ever from needing all those plugins. This Assassin's Creed in feudal Japan, that looks interesting. I'm interested in that time period. One of my favorite books is Musashi, okay? But I just don't have the time. And I don't want Apple to make me interested in this because I don't have the time. So Apple is coming onto the scene a little bit late with artificial intelligence stuff, and they're calling it personal intelligence. That's the branding they're going with because they got to try to differentiate from everybody else. Now, to be able to request something like, get me the files that my business partner shared with me, yesterday or 2 weeks ago or something, like that actually could be better, like a better Siri. I think people have been wanting that for a very, very, very long time. So smarter, actually usable, assistant sort of stuff, that actually could move the needle for a lot of people. Now, Apple is making a big claim here by saying that they have private cloud compute. Partly what this really is you can process stuff on device, but only to the extent that that device is powerful enough to do the processing. So for the heavy lifting, they got to offload stuff into the cloud. Well, the second you offload stuff into the cloud, it becomes a little more vulnerable. So Apple's doing their best to pitch here that they're going to be able to keep your stuff actually private, because that's really a big part of Apple's brand now, right? They baked that in. So I'm going to be very interested to see all the security, expert takes on how private this actually is in reality. Ooh, that new Siri animation is great. Someone is on top of their game when it comes to animations and user interfaces. Wow. Holy crap. I think this is the Siri that everyone dreamed of, that they wanted Siri to be, and was constantly disappointed that it wasn't. I think we finally got the Siri of our dreams. I like that you can just type to Siri now. You don't have to speak something out loud, because there are times when you just want to be able to do that. Now, Apple likes to say, here's what's coming up in the future. The on-screen awareness is going to be cool. You can talk to Siri about what's on your screen and make things happen. That I'm going to be looking forward to. Apple's almost getting close to turning Siri into a bit of an intelligent agent where it can take action within an app without you having to dip into the app and do the thing. That's pretty cool. I think we're getting closer to a future where apps are not even really going to need to exist anymore. I think what the new Siri capabilities really do are provide some potential for actual productivity breakthroughs, meaning the ability to save a bunch of time by just naturally speaking stuff, add this photo to such and such app. That's going to be a really big deal in terms of workflows. This is the kind of stuff that is exciting. It sounds like minutia, like small stuff when you're just talking about it here, but I think it's going to feel like a big lift when you actually get this onto your devices and start using it. Yeah, a lot of this stuff, like the example of picking up your mom from the airport and getting the cross-reference flight information, a lot of this stuff feels like the future that we've wanted. It feels like we've had the potential to kind of live in a cool tech-fueled future, but it hasn't been very integrated. And I feel like Apple's providing the integration of all these disparate things and kind of pulling it together. I do feel like this update to Siri is important, and I feel like it's the meta layer over all of Apple's stuff, pulling everything together between the devices, between the apps, between your actions, between your workflows. And I think that may be the announcement of the day, the biggest thing. So regarding Apple letting you plug in different tools, number one, will they let you plug in any tool, or is it just limited to pre-selected, pre-approved tools? We'll see how that goes. But also, something that's interesting, I feel like they're treating this kind of like they treat their search. So, Google pays Apple billions of dollars to be able to be the default search provider in Safari, for instance. Is that what this is kind of like? It seems like it. Apple is going to let you choose. You could choose DuckDuckGo, or you could have Google as your search. Well, you could have ChatGPT or maybe Perplexity. At this point, I'm not sure what models they're going to allow. It'd be nice if they'd allow any model, right? But that's, I think, how they're kind of approaching this. Since they don't have their own ChatGPT alternative, for generative stuff, they're sort of letting you plug in, hopefully, the one of your actual choice. So overall, I actually think this might be one of the more important WWDCs and software update announcements that we've had in a long time in terms of productivity. I'm real into productivity, And I think there's some serious enhancements here. So I can't wait to get my hands on this. Of course, get subscribed if you want my actual thoughts after going hands-on with all this stuff as it becomes available. Let me know what questions that you have that you might want me to answer. Check out the new podcast linked up down below. And don't forget, there's a discount on the courses, 50% off, because we're celebrating WWDC and all these awesome new tools and enhancements to the Apple ecosystem. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video or on the new podcast. The new old podcast. The podcast. Later.